we need to apply with our transcripts. We need to apply with our statement of purposes, our personal essays, all that good stuff. But then all of a sudden, you're saying diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you're like, what the heck is this? What is diversity, equity, and inclusion? What is a DEI statement? It's like, what the heck does this mean? So this video is all about your diversity, equity, and inclusion statement for grad school or for work or for whatever. My tips can help you write a DEI statement for whatever situation you find yourself in. Obviously, this is a grad school channel, so it's going to be tailored towards grad school, but you can totally massage it like you wish to. So let's go. DEI, what the heck are you? If you are enjoying my content and if you're learning from my content, please subscribe. I want to grow. I want to get to 50K soon. And I'm not putting a timeline on myself, but 50K, how about that? So please subscribe. If you're learning anything, that's the only thing I ask. You know, just help me help you. So after the recent wave of social justice movements focused on gender issues, racial issues, sexual diversity, all that stuff, transgender issues, universities are now like, hold up. We need to take a more proactive role. And so now universities are expecting their potential students to have an authentic keyword. If I'm going to say authentic throughout this video, so write it down. Authentic. An actionable diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. So having to write a DEI statement is somewhat of a political issue, right? Because there's some people that are like, what? Why do I have to write this? That's nonsense. Oh, all this woke nonsense, you know? And then there are other people that are like, oh, you better write it, right? So it's like this like battle between two mindsets, okay? And so I know I'm gonna receive some comments about this video. So I'm just saying, I'm just begging you guys. This is not a political video. If you want to go to grad school, I want to say 95% of grad schools now require that you write this statement, okay? If you want to go to a good school like an Ivy League, you certainly are going to have to write this statement, okay? So all I'm doing here, I'm just a messenger. All I'm doing here is just helping you get into school, okay? Get into your dream school, right? And so if you're going to have to write a DEI statement, might as well be a great one, okay? And that's why you're here, okay? All right, so before writing a DEI statement, you should have a strong grasp, all right, of what each word means. What does diversity mean? What does equity mean? What does inclusion mean, okay? And so diversity, what is diversity? So diversity in the context of university admissions refers to admitting people with a wide variety of characteristics and identities, okay? So you won't go to a university where it's just all white people or all differently able people or all heterosexual people, all gay people, right? Diversity is just making sure that your student body is representative of various characteristics and identities. And university diversity is not limited to race and ethnicity. So that's something people forget, because when people think diversity, they immediately think black. Can we get more black people in here? When you think diversity, can we get more Hispanic people in here? No, okay? So it's not just about race and ethnicity. It's so much more nuanced than that, okay? And it's because students can differ by gender, right? You want some girls, some guys, you know, transgender, whatever it is, sexual orientation, religion is a big one, right? Religion, except you're a Christian school and you're like, you have students write about their faith statement, that's another issue, okay? That's a different video. But if you are a public university, you want diversity in religion, okay? Age, physical abilities, cognitive abilities, political views, life experiences, and there's so many other characteristics. And diversity is amazing. I think diversity is amazing because I'm a professor. I teach doctoral students. And when I have a class that's just filled with different people, different walks of life, the conversations we have in class are so rich, like so complex and just so enlightening. And every time we leave class, we're all like, this was amazing. Like every time I leave class at least. And I get a lot of feedback from my students who love my classes. Of course, my energy is like on 100, but I believe that the diversity adds so much richness and depth to our conversations in class. So yeah. All right. So what is inclusion? Okay. So inclusion is about creating a learning environment where all people feel valued, psychologically safe, and free to be their best. When you think about diversity, I've talked about diversity. Inclusion, you want to make sure that people feel like they belong. People feel like they're safe. People feel like, wow, I can be my best in this place, okay? But also, you can't talk about diversity, inclusion without equity, okay? And equity is about providing equal. When you think, obviously, when you think about equity, think about equal. So equity is about providing equal access to the same opportunity and recognizing that a diverse group includes people who have different experiences and different advantages and barriers. Perfect example, right? So for me, I understand when I'm thinking of equity as a professor, I understand that there are students who learned English 5 years ago and came to America to grad school, okay? So I'm not expecting that they are going to feel very confident to discuss in class. So let's say my doctoral class, we're all sitting where I'm like, oh, can you talk about this? Can we discuss this? Or my master's class or whatever, online class. I'm very conscious, right, of my immigrant students, my international students, because I understand I've been there too. And I think that's what makes me very passionate about DEI statements, because I've been an international student that needed some equity, okay? And so I'm very conscious that, okay, my international students probably need a little bit of help, okay? They need a little bit of attention, more attention, okay? Because they're learning English. They feel very out of place, okay? And so, yes, so we make them feel included. We make them, they're in the program. So that's diversity. But also we want to create an equitable learning environment. This is from a professor's standpoint, okay? So equity really aims to acknowledge those unequal starting places, okay, by committing to correcting the imbalance. So I remember for me, when I started my master's program, I came directly from Nigeria to Texas A&M, okay? Texas A&M is like the whitest school, okay? And so I came from Nigeria and I was like, whoa, this is so different, So of course I had imposter syndrome. I had a foreign accent. So I was so scared of talking in class. And so I got the classes that required a lot of conversation in class for points. I got B's in those classes because I had imposter syndrome. And I always think back and wish my professors actually thought about that and said, hey, we have international students here. You probably don't feel comfortable. So let's create some equity, because I wasn't starting from the same starting line as my other colleagues, because they're Americans. Many of them even went to Texas A&M and just continued on to grad school. And I came from a completely different country and continent. And so we were starting on very different playing fields. Does that make sense? Okay. If I'm making sense, like and subscribe. All right. Okay. So a DEI statement is your written commitment. In fact, a lot of schools actually make you sign your DEI statement, okay, and they put it in your file. It's that serious, guys. It's that serious, okay? So a DEI statement is a written commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, okay? Some universities make you sign it. So that's great. It's like a contract. It's like a contract. Let's just put it that way. It's like a contract, okay? So your statement tells the admissions committee how you plan to incorporate diversity into your everyday actions, okay? And what you're currently doing to promote diversity and equity and inclusion in your life and in your community, okay? So I'm gonna delve more into how to write one, obviously, but I wanna just say there's no real standard format, okay, for writing a DEI statement, because I personally believe that your DEI statement should be authentically from your heart, okay? You need to write and pour out your heart. But of course, you need some structure, okay? And that's what this video is gonna give you, some structure, all right? So the first thing you want to do when you write your diversity and equity, DEI statement, it's such a mouthful, diversity, equity, inclusion. Okay. Can you tell I'm excited? I love this topic so much because I'm so excited schools are now requiring it, because I wish there was more attention to equity when I was in grad school. So you're very lucky. You guys, all of you. Okay. So think about your philosophy on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Think about that. Pause. Get a pen and paper and actually maybe pause this video and think about what your philosophy on this issue is and how it relates to you personally, okay? And actions that you're taking towards building a more equitable environment, a more equitable society, okay? So this is an action point. So you can pause this video, write down, what do you think about this? What is your philosophy about this, right? And reflect, write your goals, write your actions, write your plans around diversity. Like, just make bullet points, just like scribble. Just write things as it's coming to your head. What do you think about it? Writing a DEI statement can promote further reflection on the strategies you use in class, right, during discussions, the strategies you use on campus in general, and even on your assignments, right? What are those strategies you're going to use? So it makes you really start to reflect on those things, okay? So, of course, I'm the paragraph queen. I always think about things in paragraphs, okay? Because it helps you clarify a lot of things. So, paragraph 1. So, your DI statement typically should have 3 paragraphs. It can have more, okay? But 3 paragraphs is perfect, okay? Typically, you don't want to go write for more than 2 pages, okay? Double space, 2 pages. Single space, 1 page. Don't overdo it, okay? Just keep your points strong. First paragraph. What does diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to you? What does it mean to you? First, clarify what these terms mean to you. I've discussed this, right, already, but you want to start to think about it in your own terms. What does it mean to you? First couple sentences, you're talking about what diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to you. Maybe talk about a personal experience. And then you start to explain the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion, okay, in your work and in higher education. So you talk about what it means to you and you talk about the value, okay? So once I'm reading a statement, the first paragraph needs to really capture the reader, okay? Talk about something. If you have experienced racism, if you have experienced whatever it is, if you have seen racism happen, if you have seen sexism happen, if you are in a majority group or an advantageous group and you're thinking, man, my life is perfect. I haven't experienced any discrimination whatsoever. Then, good for you. I mean, aren't you lucky? Some of us experience it daily. But if you are thinking, if you're feeling like, oh, I haven't experienced much adversity or discrimination, then you can start to think about it in context of other people, maybe your friends or something you witnessed, something like that, okay? But what I would encourage you is that you don't make up things, okay? Don't make up things. This should be an authentic statement, okay? And so hopefully you have some friends who are different from you. Maybe you have family who are different from you. So think of something personal, right? And then you talk about what DEI means to you and then the value of DEI in just a learning environment, okay? That's your first paragraph, all right? Your second paragraph is so you now start to think, answer this question. How do you prioritize DEI in your daily life? At work, at the gym, at home, in the subway, on the plane. How do you prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion in those facets of your life? Okay, so your paragraph 2 should really become more concrete. What are things you're doing right now? Describe how you create an inclusive and equitable environment for people, okay? For people you work with, people you manage, people you lead, all of that, okay? So how are you doing that on a day-to-day basis, on a daily basis? One thing that you must avoid, please avoid, when you're writing your paragraph 2 is saying, oh, I love working with all sexual identities. I love gay people. I have Black friends. Oh, I have a differently abled roommate. Oh, I have a blind friend. Oh, I love Jewish people. Like, no, that is not a practical way. There's no nuance to that. There's no concreteness to that statement. You have Black friends, so what? That means nothing, right? So I want you to think about practical ways. I'll give you some examples, okay, of practical ways for your paragraph 2, where you can discuss what you're doing currently to promote DEI in your community. To promote, what did I say? Community? I'm so excited. Am I spitting? I think I'm spitting. Okay, hold on. Okay. Whew. Okay, so think about practical ways you're promoting DEI in your community, all right? So here's a practical way, and I love this. Some practical ways, okay? Maybe you advocated for a ramp for a differently abled colleague. Maybe you gathered signatures from, your neighborhood to put stop signs because there's maybe a kid with Down syndrome on your street, and you said, look, that kid is probably not crossing the road as fast as other kids, so let's put bumps here on this road, on our street, right? So think about practical things like that. Maybe you joined in a peaceful demonstration. That's a good one. That always hits this spot, right? Maybe you joined in a peaceful demonstration when there were a lot of killings of unarmed Black men, and we would go out and demonstrate peacefully. Okay, keyword is peaceful, all right? So maybe you join in the demonstrations. That's amazing. Those are practical ways you're promoting inclusion and equity, right? And diversity. So maybe you advocated for healthcare to be taken to impoverished communities in the village or in your country or something. Like maybe you're watching this and you're not American and you're like, oh, how did I what did I do? What, like, because obviously in America it's more pronounced, right? But you can say, you know, what have you done to help people that are different from you? Practical ways to help people that are more disadvantaged than you. Okay, so think about those ways and write them down in your paragraph. 2, if you've truly been a kind person, an actively kind person, okay, you can think of a million ways that you have been helpful, okay? A million ways you have helped your community, you have helped people, and write it down, okay? Obviously, keep it short, all right? So just think of ways that you have been inclusive, you've treated people equitably, and you've respected humanity and people. Just think about that. Your paragraph 2 is honestly not rocket science, I promise you. All right, so paragraph 3, how do you envision your commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion? How do you envision that developing in the future? How do you envision that your DEI actions from paragraph 2 that you've talked about, how do you envision that it's gonna develop moving forward? Because obviously, DEI is not a static situation, okay? We're constantly evolving, we're constantly learning. So for me, for example, one of my best friends, her daughter has Down syndrome. And I remember posting on Instagram, I was like, oh, I love that my sons have like a disabled best friend or something like that. And because it's good for them, it's good. I love that because because they're gonna have this girl in their lives forever. They're gonna have more empathy towards other kids with Down syndrome, you know? And so she immediately texted me and she's like, don't use the word disabled, just use differently abled. And it was such like a moment for me because I was like, that's a much better word, differently able. I give you this example because I thought I was like the DEI queen, but I just learned something new, okay? And so it's a constantly evolving science, okay? It's a constantly evolving heart work, okay? So that's what I want you guys to think about, right? For paragraph 3, how are you going to constantly evolve and constantly learn, all right? And so in this paragraph, you should explain how you will continue your DEI efforts that you talked about in paragraph 2, right, in the future. And what I want to encourage you is that research some initiatives or programs, right, being done on campus. This is gold right here, guys. Most universities have like a DEI office or DEI training or things like that for students, right? If you're an American student watching this, most universities have, in fact, whoever you are watching this, not even just Americans, most universities have African Students Associations, they have cultural associations, like Indian Students Association. They have DEI trainings going on for students. There's so many avenues, right, in your university that you can say, hey, these are the things I'm going to engage in, right? I want to attend. Don't say I want to make Indian friends. No. Don't do that. Just say things like, I hope to get acquainted and even involved in the African Students Association to learn more about like Africa and learn more about some of the challenges, like African students face on campus. Oh, that is gold, guys. Like, write that. Get a pen and paper and write that down, okay? Talk about DEI training, because DEI is not just for white people, right? DEI is for everyone, all of us. We're constantly learning. I told you a story about my friend who with the differently able. We're all learning, and it should be exciting, right? It's so exciting to like be inclusive and just make everyone feel special and important, right? You can pursue some DEI trainings, maybe find some that are online and add them, and say, oh, I'll do a DEI training offered by so people. I know, say something like, I'm aware of the DEI program or the social justice training offered by the Office of Diversity on campus. I hope to be actively involved and partake in that training. Workshops, professional development opportunities to grow in DEI. So think about those things and write them down. I think this is the most important paragraph because this is your third paragraph is the you that the university is getting. Okay, so that's why it has to be really great. You need to think through it, and please, you need to be authentic. Please be authentic. Okay, so there are 3 guidelines to think as you write paragraph 1, 2, and 3, and I already started talking about it. Be authentic. The number one aspect of a strong DEI statement, the number one thing, right, is authenticity. Don't bull crap your way through this statement. Really take your time. So this is not an SOP. This is take your time to write it. The statement should sound like it came from a real person, not a computer, okay, who truly cares about creating an inclusive and equitable and diverse school environment. All right. So use plain language. So don't use like, this is not your SOP. So just use plain language, simple language that actually comes from your heart. Just type it down. You already know what paragraph 1, 2, and 3 should have. So just saying things that you intend to put into action and speaking your core values, speaking from your heart. It's like, just be authentic, honestly. If you're authentic, the admissions committee would know. And I would tell you that they have rejected people because of their DEI statements. So you better work on it and be good. Make it good. Make it authentic. Okay, use inclusive language. Differently abled is like the new word, right? So just use differently abled. If that's what they want to say, even if you don't believe it, just use it. What is the big deal? Disabled, differently abled. It's not that serious. Just use differently abled. Right? If that's what people with disabilities want to be referred to as, just respect them and use it. Okay? So, use gender neutral words, right? Like humanity or mankind. I know people are going to be like, oh Lord. But just use it, right? Just use gender neutral words, gender inclusive pronouns, like dear, or rather than his or her, just things like that. Just obviously this is kind of like a lot, but just, you don't have to do it, but just think about it. Just keep that in mind as you write. Always write in first person. That's another tip. Write in first person, I, not passive, right? Your DEI statement should be very active, in a very active voice, okay? Be specific is my fourth tip, okay? Don't beat around the bush. Don't, just go straight to the point, okay? State exactly what you have done and plan to do. So obviously paragraph 1, your values, paragraph 2, what you've done, paragraph 3, what you plan to do. Include dates. Maybe include some dates if you can, because that would help you, that would show some growth, right? And sometimes you can even be honest. Like you can talk about, how maybe you were a certain way in 2015 and you've grown and you're a different person today. Okay? Like just add some specificity to your document, to your statement. All right, well, that's it. I hope you learned something. I hope this has been very helpful. So if you need help kind of reviewing your DEI statements, I do not write DEI statements, but I would help you review it to just make sure that you're actually conveying your thoughts and your heart in a more persuasive way. I have a business called Statement of Purpose Co. that can help you review, keyword review. I don't write because this is you. This is your statement. It should be authentic and it should be in your voice. But I can help you make the sentences stronger. I can help you just edit around and make it better. And so the link to get my services will be in the description box. So let me know and I would love to serve you. I would love to serve you.